This is the Oakwyn Podcast, featuring Morgan Brown and Michael Yu.
Welcome to the Oakwyn Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Yu.
And I'm the Podfather.
And we don't have Morgan here. So,
Oh, right.
yeah.
Where's Morgan?
Yeah. Or do you want to do a Morgan impersonation the whole time?
Good.
Let's impersonate Morgan.
Okay.
You go first.
Welcome back to the Oakwyn Podcast. My name's Morgan Brown.
That's a good one. I can't do a Morgan. I'm trying to summon Morgan, and you know what? It's guy time. It's bro time.
That's true. Yeah.
So we can spit on the ground.
Well, I mean, that's
yeah.
All right.
Oh, let's tear this place apart.
Yeah, okay. Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers. We're having a little
Añejo mezcal.
That's very good.
Ooh, smoky.
Yeah. It's very smoky. It's good.
Whoa.
You like it?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
It's good
So
stuff.
we were talking about tequila on one of our other podcast episodes. So I was at the liquor store, and there was like a gentleman that I was just having a small talk with, and he knows everything about tequila. And so yeah, he was told me this one was a good one.
Amazing. And he was right. He was absolutely right.
Totally. Thank you,
Well,
mystery person.
That's right.
Yeah. So, Brayden, I'm actually curious because you've been doing more podcasts with some other types of businesses and stuff. How's it going for you and your business?
It's going really well. There's ups and downs. I'm getting a lot of business. Like it's crazy the parallels to real estate because
Cool.
Just finding that 90% of my business is repeat business and referrals, right? And then I get a little bit of kind of outside leads from my website. I've gotten a couple leads from there, and just about to close one of those, a big contract. And I'm getting bigger and bigger contracts, which is nice.
Bigger than the Oakwyn podcast.
Yes, an entire municipality is.
Oh my gosh! Really? Okay,
me.
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's great to hear.
So it's great. There's obviously been, I'm sure you guys went through this, some growing pains.
Yeah.
Trying to scale the business and figure out how that works. And I'm sure at some point I'll be coming to pick your brain about that because
have you do you have a solid plan? Like, what's the thought process right now?
Well, I'm got to the point where I'm realizing I needed to develop some standard operating procedures to kind of make a separation of roles between the management stuff and the entrepreneur roles and the technician roles and stuff. And so I found that I'm actually doing more management work than technician work nowadays, which is good.
Right.
But yeah, just trying to figure out the balance of how that works and figure out how, because my first two hires were just very off the cuff, very like, let's train as we go. I'll show you how I do it. And I have to do another hire, and it's going to be, I want it to be more structured, right? I want it to be, this is basically, here's a training manual to get you started. And then, I can jump in and do more personalized stuff from there. And then hopefully down the road, one of my kind of managers can take on that role, right? And so it's a whole learning process, and it's evolving and growing, and it's happened very fast, but I'm really happy with where the business is at. Yeah.
Well, that is awesome to hear. And podcasting obviously it's just starting too. I think that there's a lot of room for it, and it's a lot of it's a lot of fun, and having great support here with the Podfather is awesome. And I'm actually honored because I don't know if you know the story of the Podfather, but it was like we were doing a podcast at the Oakwyn Podcast, right?
Yeah.
And then that's how you thought of the name, right?
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It just kind of, you guys were talking to the Scalinas about how they were the Podfathers, and I was like, well, I'm also a father, and I do a lot of more podcasts than they do, so I'll just take that.
Well, no, that's like awesome, and I'm like, so it's just awesome to see the growth, and where I feel like, and I feel like a lot of our agents feel this way too, but like because we started with you when you're just getting it started, and you weren't even the Podfather creative, you were just like Brayden, who knows sound, and I was like. We're like, we need a producer. We need and so, and that's where it kind of started, right?
Yeah. I mean, I even, when you were actually the second podcast that I ever worked with. I worked with the Scalina brothers a few years ago. And when I first started working with them, it was like, I hadn't even listened to podcasts,
Right.
but I'd done a lot of music production. I was really good at editing audio, and I was a vocal producer, so I knew I could do it.
Totally.
But I had to just figure it out on the fly. And then, when it came to your guys', it was the first launch I had ever done. But I mean, at the same time, it's like, I know how to do this. I've done a lot of, similar things, and I've worked on the back end of the Scalina's podcast and stuff. So
that's so cool where, you see this trajectory, and it's only been like not even a couple of years yet, right?
No, I mean, full time for me has been since January, like 10 months.
Okay, so 10 months, yeah.
I still had like
you still had the teaching gig, right?
Yeah, I still had like a basically 40-hour a week teaching gig.
Right.
And and I just kind of, with obviously the support of your guys' podcast, and work on In the House with Jenny and Tony, and that allowed me to kind of have the confidence to do it on my own and take the leap, right? And it's a scary thing to do, but I mean, watching you guys and the decisions you make and the jumps that you have made in your business, it's pretty, I don't know, it just seems like natural to me, being surrounded by people like yourselves and entrepreneurs and successful people. So
that's so cool. And, talking about scaling and talking about kind of like achieving the next kind of level on certain things, I think at the beginning, you're always a one-man band, right?
Yeah.
You're always kind of like, I'm here, I'm doing this on my own, and I'm like, I'm sweeping the floors, and I'm like cooking the food, and I'm and I'm serving the customers, and I'm turning on the open light. But I think one of the organizational tools, and it's so logical, it's super straightforward, is just like, what I ask a lot of agents to do for their business even is, once it starts getting to a certain scalable degree where they're thinking about implementing more systems, or thinking about hiring on people, is simply, writing down a very, very clear, full, either a weekly or monthly, like all the things that you do for the business, from tip to tail, everything that you're actually spending time doing, like in a long, long list. Okay. And then it's going to be a super long list of everything that you do, whether that's editing, or, for a realtor, it's like doing showings, coordination, like door knocking, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So there's like a big long list of things that you are doing for your business. And then things, you want to write a small list of things that you should be doing that are going to be highly impactful for the business, but you don't have time for. And then looking at prioritizing that list into highest importance to lowest importance. And then, what I always do is I just cut my list in half, and I say, okay, this is the roles and responsibilities for somebody.
Yeah.
And so let's imagine that person who would be perfect at this job. And then I kind of write a person. Like, I'm like, this person would be introverted, extroverted. What type of personality profile would they be? What age would they be? What will be the ideal kind of person that if I could dream up a perfect, it's kind of like, when you're growing up, what's your perfect girl, man?
Yeah. Girl of my dreams.
What's a girl of your dreams, man?
Yeah.
And then you'll be like, oh, she looks like Pamela Anderson or whatever. It is. That's not the girl of my dream.
That's interesting that you say that, because that's like, I did that with my business, but I did it as like from the customer side point, right? Like, what's my customer avatar?
Yeah.
So you're saying do that with like an employee avatar kind of thing.
Yeah. So you want to obviously really be very clear about the type of people that are going to complement you well. So for example, you can't have 5 Michael Jordans on a team, right? You gotta have like Jordan, like Morgan is Michael Jordan. I'm like Steve Kerr or something. Like, pass the ball. Like, yeah, you go and score and win us the game. You got to know who you would really complement, who would complement you really well, and where your strengths are in the business. And, some people have a really high strength in operations. Some people have a high strength in revenue generation. Some people have a high strength in the technical aspects of the business, or in marketing, and trying to round out your team. What would be the ideal team look like? And, but kind of starting from what you're doing right now, so that you can maintain your level of service that your customers are accustomed to receiving as you're scaling. So by removing 50% or more of the aspects and tasks that you have on the dock every single week, specifically repeating tasks, trying to dream up the perfect candidate for that position, and making sure that that fits within the structure of the financial structure of the business is something that's really cool. And then kind of adding in like some of those wish list items and adding them to your plate.
Right.
And even though at some point they may become things that you delegate away, but you always want to start with yourself and like figuring out if it feels right, if it's so for example, if you're doing online lead generation, you would do the first bit of online lead generating, getting a sense of it, being really strong at it. And then you might be like, okay, well, this is not the best use of my time, but if I can hire this out and get someone to kind of respond to inquiries and follow up and do those things, I'm going to focus on the referrals and, making sure that side is, whatever that looks like. And you build out the kind of the ecosystem for your business, which is really cool.
Yeah. So then it makes sense so you're basically taking, I would look at that as, you're making a list of the things that you're not good at or that you don't want to do, and find somebody who is, like, find that perfect puzzle piece, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for our Oakwyn leadership team, we have a team of we have a team of 4 of us. Obviously there's a bigger team, there's a bigger staff team, and but the team that I work on is a team of 4. It's me, Arlene, Morgan, and we have our CFO Alfred, who's like very introverted guy who's like loves numbers and really like all about the numbers and the tax and the cash flows and all that.
Yeah, he's really behind the scenes.
He's very behind the scenes. He's the one that pays Brayden every month.
I know Alfred very well. He's my favorite person on the team.
But then, so you kind of, and I couldn't have dreamt of having a team that good. Arlene's an amazing operator, caring, nurturing. Morgan is a superstar. She's like so awesome at business development and being the kind of the face of the company and then my skill set, which is in planning and in systems and structure and in kind of making sure that things are flowing well with and make sure we kind of get things going in the right direction so everyone has their strengths and specialties, so you kind of want to know that for yourself, with your business and trying to dream up that individual. And I'm really big about hiring very slow.
Right.
So
what do you mean by that? Like,
so, for example, if you know that you have a 6, like you might not be at a point where you actually need someone right now.
Mm-hmm.
You should start interviewing for that perfect person now. So it's like, so you're being proactive and you're like, okay, my business has trended and scaled. It's scaling to a degree where I'm going to need this person.
Mm-hmm.
So 6 months prior to, you're interviewing different people. And so you have a wide selection. I don't think most people that are good are currently working elsewhere,
So you need to start drawing them away.
Start thinking about it and start talking about it too. So that some of the best staff and people that we've worked with are through referrals. So, talking to your friends, do you know anyone that fits this characteristic who would work really well with me? So for example, on my team, Bridget Wong has been with me for 8-9 years now. Jill, 6 years now. And, Arlene and I have been working together for forever.
Yeah.
And, just so that you just build like a great, like synergistic relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when like the magic happens, right? I think you can only earn so much alone. Yeah. You can only do so much alone. And then once you start getting good people involved, that's where you really see the like exponential results.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what happened to me is I the business grew fast, and when I had to step back and take a look at, okay, what's my actual capacity here? And my actual physical time limit capacity, aside from even doing any management, any emails to clients and entrepreneurial sort of trying to get more leads and stuff, my actual capacity put me at a position where I was below where I wanted to be earning, right? And so that's the point where I realized, and this was like only 3 months into my starting the business. And
Right.
I realized I have to actually scale, and I have to think about hiring somebody and doling out some of these kind of technical tasks, exactly like what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's always about having the right people on the bus, right? And like they always say, there's a great book that every business owner should read, Good to Great.
Yeah.
I've read it at minimum twice, and I've listened to it like 3 or 4 times.
Mhm.
And there's great lessons in it to scale a business, and also to kind of to learn and to really, they always talk about not who, but first not what or how, but who. Like that's the first question you
Yeah.
always ask. It's just who. So it's like, you got to put together that really great team, and you should really be slow in that process. That's my big thing. Like, you want to be really proactive and really thoughtful, and kind of interview a lot of different people that might be a good fit. And if they're not a perfect fit, then probably not a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you have like a specific interview process that you go through, or do you have a set list of questions that you're asking?
Yeah.
people,
So I like to, a couple things. I admittedly am not the greatest interviewer because I get personal.
Oh, yeah.
And there are a
okay,
lot
yeah.
of rules that, to respect. So I don't actually go through the interviewing process. However, I've talked to Arlene, who does most of the interview process, or on our team for staffing, and we like to ask a lot of experiential questions.
Okay.
So, for example, so thinking about hypothetical situations within your business, and so for example, so this is a question we ask a lot of our kind of potential resale staff. Okay, Saturday night, you have a dinner plan with your significant other, and they go, okay, got it. You get a call from an agent. They want to do a viewing that same night. What do you do?
Mm-hmm.
And then, you hear the response, and if they're like, well, I'm gonna go with my significant other, and I'll deal with it the next day. Okay, well, that's not the philosophy of our team, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It would be either take the call and reroute it, or take the call, deal with it, and book it and make arrangements around it, or just we want solutions oriented people, so they would come up with a solution for it. And there's no right or wrong answer, but you want to know how they're going to deal with certain situations. And the reason why you'd want to do commonly held situations is because you can always refer back.
Yeah.
So like, hey, remember when we interviewed, we said that we were going to handle things this way.
Right.
Are we handling the things the same way as what we did what we talked about in our interview?
Yeah.
And if the answer is yes, then it's yes. And if the answer is no, then it's no. And so kind of looking at it from that perspective as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. So you're saying basically you're throwing things at them. It's what ifs, and you're trying to see how they
how they would handle it versus kind of like, tell me about your experience type of thing.
Yeah.
Which is good as well. But I've said it on a couple other podcasts before, like I really respect and like love our team, but we wouldn't necessarily be the best of friends.
Yeah.
Personally, personal wise, like I'm really fortunate that my family and friends we have kind of found, but our characteristics aren't so much that we're so similar that that we would kind of go out and hang out.
Yeah.
For the most part,
but that's okay.
Yeah, but that's okay. And what, like sometimes you don't need the that in your life, right? And then in your business, right?
Yeah. Do you ever ask any like kind of almost like higher level, like personality questions? Like if you were a tree, what kind of leaves would you have? Like that sort of thing? Or do you get like all,
like I do
spiritual like that?
No, I don't.
Or does Arlene? I guess.
I don't think we do. Those are good because it makes the environment fun. Our job posting is very fun. Our job posting is very different. So like we actually, so the best way of getting staff that we found is through referral. So it's talking to people that you really respect. Say, hey, do you know anyone that would fit this profile?
So is it worth it to even post it?
We have found really great staff by posting things too, but we make people burn calories to apply.
Oh, explain that. What do you mean by that?
For example, at Oakwyn, we ask everyone. So because we have a core value to be a real estate nerd, so we ask everyone in the job process with your resume, what nerd would you be and why?
Oh.
And so they have to write an email with a story of why that they're going to be a certain nerd with their resume. They can't just send their resume. Like, we just dump all the people that apply for the job that don't write a story of why they're a nerd and why. Like, which nerd they are and why. Because the reason why we do that is because it's important for our business that you have good reading comprehension and writing skills. So basically we want to see your writing skills, that you can write an email and it's not going to look weird and stuff like that. And that you have taken some energy to be creative and be fun. And we like kind of tongue-in-cheek people that are fun and have a good sense of humor, because we like to laugh around the office. So if they really think it out. So like Ace said Indiana Jones, for example.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so she I think she said Indiana Jones. She told us the reason why. She said, Indiana Jones because of so-and-so. He's kind of an adventurer, but he's still a nerd.
Well, if it wasn't Indiana Jones, you're going to hear about it.
Yeah. I think it was Indiana Jones. But all of our great staff, they took the time to explain that. So we want people to burn a bit of calories to kind of apply, and so that it feels a bit like a privilege to be a part of the brokerage. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. And you know what that actually reminds me of is, have you ever heard of those stories about like the rockstar bands? I think it was, who was it? Might have been the Rolling Stones or Guns N' Roses or somebody like that used to ask in their rider for a show for a bowl of only green M&Ms. Did you ever hear about this?
No. I've heard of like crazy rock star demands and that being,
that's
but
like
not Rolling Stones,
that's like a very commonly told story. And there's the bunch of promoters, had stories about this and how they asked for a bowl of green M&Ms and, there's such prissy rock stars and blah, blah, blah. And then somebody finally asked, the manager in an interview, like, what's with the green M&Ms thing? And he goes, well, I'll tell you exactly what it is. It's not because they like green M&Ms or they care about green M&Ms. It's because we want to know before we get to the venue if the show promoter has the attention to detail that he's going to put into the show. And if he's not willing to just pick out the green M&Ms in a bowl, if we don't show up and there's green M&Ms there, we know that we're going to have problems that night.
Right.
And we know there's going to be things that are out of place, and we need to be able to prepare for that, basically. And so that kind of reminds me of that, is put in, find people that are going to put in the effort right off the bat. Yeah. Right?
Because you want people that are really engaged, that want to be there. Specifically now, the job market is very in favor of, because the job market is so, the unemployment is so low, which is kind of surprising and stuff like that. And so, you want to get the best people that are highly engaged and going to be motivated. I feel like you can't motivate someone. I don't believe that you can motivate anybody. I think that it comes from within. You can create great culture.
100%. Yeah.
You can create great culture and environment. But if they're not passionate about what they do, they don't love the people they're working with, it's not going to work out. So you kind of know, you get a gut feeling about it pretty early.
Yeah.
And, you want it to be proven that it's going to work or not going to work. But I knew when I first started working with Morgan, I knew we were going to get along so well. I knew that we needed someone exactly like her, that knows, like, a marketing maven, that has high intuition, that builds rapport with anybody, anytime, and that would be the life of the party and also be the kind of the face of the company. And, somebody that was magnetizing and charismatic. And I'm like, oh man, this is a perfect person. Cause Arlene and I are not like that. So Arlene,
you didn't want to be the face of the
company? Without Morgan, this company sucks. And I think she would say that without me and Arlene, she would say the company will be, I'll probably do well, but whatever Morgan does, it always does well.
Yeah.
But when I met who works on my resale team, Bridget Wong or Jill Van Dam, who both work on my resale team, and Kelsey Atherley and Kate Pelzer. When I met them, I just knew we'd get along really well. They're, values are similar, but we have different strengths and different abilities and things that we can kind of work together on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And have you had hires in the past? Like, obviously, you don't need that name names, but that you just you had this gut feeling right from the beginning that, okay, maybe this isn't the right fit, and you had to have that conversation. How long did you let that kind of go on for?
Yeah, recently we had, So of course, you make assumptions in your business that you're going to need certain things, and I'm very proactive. So I'm like, we might need someone with this kind of characteristics. So you try, but obviously didn't work out, and just have the conversation. That's why whenever you do a ICA or you do an employment agreement with anybody, you should have a probationary period, so that basically feeling out process for 3 to 6 months, so you can really get to the heart of whether or not that this person is going to be a good fit or not. I believe in giving people chances and giving people their just giving people the chances. If they're, I'm less concerned with if they make a mistake and they're really forward with it and they're okay, like, to say that, hey, I made an error here. I'm actually great. I'm very happy about that. I'm like, oh, great. We can course correct behavior. But if it's things that are going against your culture or against your values or against your, or even, and openly, if you just really don't enjoy their spending that much, then it's something to really think about, right? As well, because sometimes, like, we've had people in the past that are very competent, they do their job very well, but they're like, they don't have the culture of the company within them, and it doesn't work out, because the mood, the environment, it just pollutes other staff, and it gets kind of hairy, but they might do a good job, and you have to be willing to let them. I'd rather have someone that's like kind of on an upward progression and doing a good job with competency, but has the right heart, has the right commitment level, wants to learn, wants to improve, wants to grow, and kind of worked at it from there.
Yeah. That's one of the hardest things for me. I've gotten into partnerships in the past, or had other businesses where I've had to hire people, and it's a very difficult thing to hire for exactly the right traits of what you're looking for. For me anyways. I don't know if it's easy for other people to see that, but
no, I don't think it's easy. It's a challenge of every business is to find the right team, because if you build the right team, then your product or service is going to be amazing, and it'll be so compelling to participate in with your company, right? So but it's about building that right team. Yeah. Or building that really compelling service first, and then kind of delivering the kind of making sure that you're always improving that service or improving that product, using the right team, the right people with you. So no one built a fantastic and great business totally alone. I think that you need to, I personally believe that you need to kind of experience all aspects of a business as an entrepreneur. Like, kind of, you need to experience all levels of the business. Yeah. So even with our brokerage, like, I was on reception for a long time.
I was just going to ask, did you do some reception?
Yeah, I did. I used to do reception every day from 12 to 1 while Ash or Rachel was on break. Wow. Yeah. So this is when we first started. And I wanted to do a very good job. Yeah. And so
your realtors would walk in and you would be like, I would, here's your keys, mister.
Yeah. They would. And I would, Robin was just on, but I would ask Robin if he wanted a tea or coffee. I would greet his clients and, do key drop off and pick up and stuff like that.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. And I love doing reception. I thought it was just a fantastic thing. I do have some limitations, obviously, because my computer skills are so poor. So conveying a deal, I've sat beside a conveyancer as they were conveying a deal, and we've talked about how to do it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys are wizards here. I respect you so much. I can't do that. When I saw you kind of come in and you're working on your big screen, I'm just like, this is to me looks like brain surgery. Yeah. Right. I'm a very simple person, so you do what you can, obviously, for it, but for the most part, you want to dig into every aspect of the business. So you kind of have some familiarity with it. So you can either train, coach, or sympathize or empathize with every role that's in the group.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It makes me think that I fully agree with that. I gotta read Good to Great again. I gotta revisit that. It's such a good resource.
It is a great resource, and Jim Collins. I think Good to Great, like he wrote another one, Built to Last, and he wrote another book recently that just came out. But Good to Great is the
gold standard.
For me, I think it's his like Mona Lisa.
Is there any other resources like really? Would you say crucial resources, books or otherwise, to building or scaling your business?
Scaling a business,
or hiring in general.
For hiring and human resources. I really like Tony Hsieh's book, Delivering Happiness by Tony Hsieh. He built the Zappos organization. So he's really heart-centered and really like culture and value-centered. So like making decisions based on that is something, because business can, once you start getting intellectual about business, it can be dollars and cents and financial statements and stuff like that, which doesn't inspire people and doesn't kind of build this company culture that you're seeking. So it's the balance between like the warm servant heart with the like brilliant mind. That's kind of like you got to try to strike that balance. And that's what's going to deliver the best results, I think. And it rarely happens within one person. So but having that kind of, because if it's just a brilliant mind, nobody's gonna be kind of because it's all about dollars and cents. It's all about kind of like cutting and efficiencies and stuff,
which is important stuff.
Which is important stuff to some degree, but then you got to counteract that with the heart and the values and the spirit of the company, which is Tony Hsieh's book talks a lot about that. Good to Great really talks about great leadership, things like the flywheel principle, like lots of really great organizational and entrepreneurial techniques that are very helpful. But I think personally, I think that one was a good one. And maybe I just related to it because he's like an Asian American guy. But that's a good one. But I feel like a lot of, and Pri is gonna, like Pri, my wife, is gonna, a lot of the answers are within yourself. And so it's weird. She says this to me all the time. She's like,
but sometimes you need to access another resource to open that up and realize it, right?
It's, that's so true, to like kind of see that angle or to see some perspective. So it just depends on what type of learner you are too. Like if you're an audio learner, if you're a visual learner, if you're an experiential learner, if you're an observational learner, if you're a conversational learner, which is what I am. So I learn the best by writing. And by having conversations about what I'm writing. So that's kind of, and so knowing yourself, right? And it has to, like, I've tried typing stuff down, typing stuff on my phone and typing stuff on a computer, my ideas, and then having conversations about them to explore them further and dissect them further.
Doesn't work for you.
It doesn't work for me. So like I have to write it with my freaking hand. And and I have to have a great conversation with people that I love and trust, that I can, that we can wrestle with the idea.
That's why you guys go on the retreat every year. Right?
That's why we go on the retreat every year. But
you
also,
literally wrestle.
We literally, I don't think Sean or Pri would like Morgan to wrestle, or Arlene. We wrestle with our ideas and kind of, have no holds barred matches with those ideas. And then, it just kind of, and then may the best idea win, right? And may the best kind of, but that always comes from having the right heart. Like we are a family. We trust each other. We love each other. We want to see the best for them, they want to see the best for us, and we want to see the best for the whole company.
Yeah.
And kind of like looking at it from that frame. And the reason why we're so passionate about it is because we care so deeply about the results. Because not only are our own personal livelihoods and our family's livelihoods like kind of at stake with these decisions, but also all these other people's lives, your staff, they become like, some of our staff have been with us for so long, and we like care deeply about their success and wanting to see them grow and do amazing things. And, we've seen some like just some real like really special, we've shared some special moments with some people, some of our staff, and also some of the agents. I've shared some really special moments with some of the agents. I've had numerous like heartfelt calls while agents have been in their kitchen of their first place that they ever bought. I've had postcards from agents saying that I brought my mom on a cruise. And it was, you remember when we planned that out, and it's just the two of us, and I'm annoyed as hell, but but like I did it, and like and just like wonderful things, and you just hear these amazing stories, and you're like, okay, we're doing the right things, right?
Yeah, you are, and one of those right things is being the person that those agents feel like they can call for a moment like that to share it with you, right? Because there's not every managing broker is the kind of person that's willing to do that, right? So that's part of what you're doing right, and I commend you for that.
It's a lot of fun, and I think it's like you're gonna develop these and I think that a lot of agents develop these relationships with their team members and their staff and the people that are on their on their team, and it really is a symbiotic relationship. It's kind of like where you're like a human being with a horse is like a symbiotic relationship. They can run very far, or it's like so yeah, when I think of Bridget, I think of a horse.
She doesn't listen to the podcast, does she?
No, she doesn't.
Holy
I'm just
moly.
joking.
I'm gonna tag her in this.
I'm joking, but like you want to create this kind of symbiotic relationship, but
yeah. That. So what animal is Morgan then? I
guess. Morgan, an animal. She's a honeybee, right?
That's true.
Honeybee Brown.
Nailed it.
But we were supposed to talk about some other stuff, but I think we got onto like a cool topic, and we're talking a little, and maybe just a quick note for the agents that are listening to the pod, just about scaling your business and kind of when to do some appropriate things. So one of the things is incorporating, and I don't know, Brayden, are you incorporated or?
Yeah.
Podfather
Creative Inc.
Nice. So this is a PREC is a personal real estate corporation. You might have seen some agents that have their name with personal real estate corporation beside it. So this is something that that agents were able to do in 2008. Okay, it started in 2008. Lots of professions have had the ability to incorporate. Realtors were not able to incorporate until 2008. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was 13 years ago. So in my first year in 2006 and 2007, you weren't able to incorporate. And so all the commissions and earnings and revenue came through your personal tax rate. So it was personal tax rate in Canada at the kind of middle to high range is anywhere from 30 and maybe up to 52% of your gross commissions, which is a huge your net commissions, which is a huge amount. So a lot of agents were kind of forced to spending a lot of their income they call them write-offs, so that you write off your gross income to try to achieve a lower tax bracket. So almost everything was at a 30 to 50% discount, because you'd pay it in taxes anyways.
Yeah.
So agents were kind of really loose in a sense with their income. So without being too like crass about it, in my first year, I didn't expect this. But I sold 53 homes. Yeah. And I didn't expect it to happen. but I was very, I was and is and am, sorry, very frugal. Like, I don't like the finer things in life. I'm not, if I had a choice to, go to the fanciest restaurant or like a local place that serves good food and has great service, I would do the local place that has great food and great service. Right?
Me too.
Yeah. And so that's just my choice. But everyone's a bit different. So, I was very frugal as well in my first year. I didn't buy a car. I didn't do
you rocked that van.
Yeah, I rocked the van for the whole year. And I didn't kind of spend anything. So I ended up spending, in my first year without being, I was 24 years old. I paid to the government over 6 figures in income taxes.
Oof. Ow, that stings.
Yeah, I know. And they weren't actually remitting it every month or anything like that. I paid it in one check. I paid it in one personal check.
I think we talked about this.
In one,
and
it was not. It was, and I remember I went to it was on West Georgia or
Pender.
West Pender. West Pender.
The CRA office.
CRA office. And I literally handed it to somebody and they were like, wow. And I was like, I don't know what the heck. And I didn't know anything.
You're sweating.
Yeah, I was sweating, and I used a accountant that, that my dad used to use that I didn't know very well. And then I was just like, there's got to be a better way. So
yeah.
So in 2008, I did 2 things. So one is I interviewed different tax accountants, and I interviewed a few different tax accountants. I found the awesome S.E. Chan out of Richmond, who I still use today, 14 years later.
You would recommend?
I do recommend SE. I don't know if he's taking on it. He probably doesn't want me to say, because I don't know if he's taking
we
on
won't link to him then.
I don't think he wants to take on any more clients, because I've referred him to so many people. And he basically, and I don't know if he does that, but as a 24 or 5 years, he sat me down and we talked for 4 hours, and he taught me everything he knew about the Canadian tax code.
Wow.
And I literally sat there writing furiously down notes, and he was telling me about personal tax rate, corporate tax rate, and it was like a symposium of tax, and he loves it. And I was writing it furiously down, and he taught me everything I know, and I would meet him every 3 months to review everything, which, I think he was just getting started, and so was I. So, he was starting for a while, but his business is really gone crazy. He was at this tiny office, and then he took over the whole floor. He's just
because of all your referrals.
Well, referrals, but also he's just an amazing guy. And he's kind and patient and very heartwarming guy.
That's awesome.
So he loves his family, and so basically, I immediately signed up for a personal real estate corporation, and basically, when you want to get your personal real estate corporation is when you have excess commissions that you don't really need to utilize for your own personal use, and they could be at a different tax rate. So I'm not a tax expert or anything like that. So please talk to a licensed accountant. And this is
this is not professional advice.
This is not professional advice. It's anecdotal advice. So basically, your corporate tax rate on net revenue is anywhere from 12.5%, or 13.5%. I can't remember, versus potentially 30 to 50% after a certain bump in your personal tax rate. So all your commissions go into your personal real estate corporation. You pay yourself as a personal employee. So I pay myself a salary, and you can pay yourself a salary of just what you need, so of your, whatever your living costs are, that way. And then all the business expenses can stay within a corporate entity. There are some disadvantages to having a personal real estate corporation. Some of the disadvantages are you have to pay double licensing fees, double insurance, because that's its own corporate entity. So you do have to pay 2 years in emissions insurances, 2 council licenses, 2 board licenses. So you're doubling up on that, on those costs. So that's the drawback of it. So, rule of thumb for most people is once they start, making into the 6-figure range, that's when you really want to get your corporation put together. And thinking about it, at least, depending on that scale, what that looks like. And, basically, we can talk about investments and stuff like that through the corporation. That would be, but that maybe that should be saved. We're running a little long.
Yeah. That's another conversation.
That's another conversation. So which I advise people to do on a regular basis. So that's something some notes about personal real estate corporations and scaling your business and a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, that's amazing. I should say that I basically have. You guys have given a lot of advice on resources over the time I've been working with you, and I've crushed all of it. All those audiobooks, every single one of them. So if you want to have more episodes on what to read and listen to, I will continue to do that, and I'm guessing our listeners will as well.
Yeah, for sure. And thank you guys so much for listening to the Oakwyn podcast, guys. If you've enjoyed this podcast, I know it didn't have Morgan, so you probably, once you heard that, stopped listening. You're like, no Morgan, I'm out. But
fair enough.
For those of you hardcore listeners that have wanted to listen to just me and Brayden.
A couple of dudes drinking mezcal.
Exactly. Cheers. Thanks so much for listening. Please rate us 5 out of 5 on the podcast platform you're listening to it on. And if you're interested in Oakwyn, you're curious about learning more about the company or joining the company, if you're a new agent or an agent that is experienced, go to oakwyn.com/join, type in the message box pod 2021, and you get a free piece of mystery swag. Okay, guys, till next time. Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.